Okay, so I just set a 30-minute timer. I'm giving myself 30 minutes for this video. This is my first video on this YouTube channel. So I guess I'll start with kind of explaining why I'm creating this channel, why I'm making the decision to create this project, I guess you could call it, and what I'm what I'm hoping to create with it, the kind of content I'm hoping to put out there. So I don't really want this to be very fussy. So I think a lot of the content here is going to be, I'm anticipating it to be kind of unprocessed, raw, just kind of hitting record, maybe setting a timer, and just, you have a set amount of time, and whatever you want to cover, whatever topic you want to cover, you have some time to do it, and then at the end of that time you just stop recording and put it out there. So that's kind of the intention behind this. Is it's a means to be of service. It's a means to share what's on my mind. It's a means to share some of the spiritual practices I've learned. It's a means to share things personally, to get them off my chest by talking about them, stuff that's been on my mind, stuff that I found helpful, and also definitely one of the core functions of this channel that over time I would want to increasingly establish is sharing specific techniques that I've learned, basic meditation, basic pranayama breath work, stuff like, how to use a japa mala for your mantra, and the significance of having a mantra, and that just kind of sharing specific techniques and general ideas, and giving talks, getting things off my chest, sharing that with other people, so that it may be of use to others. This is intended to be something, an offering to others, done with minimal manipulation, just kind of a means to get what needs to get out there where it needs to go, to get it out there. So yeah, that's kind of my intention for this channel. Mulling over things I've been thinking about. Maybe people want to hear that. Maybe that would be helpful, and definitely over time creating content that is more technique based. How to do sun salutations in yoga, basic meditation, stuff like that. So creating stuff that allows people to have spiritual techniques that are directly useful in their lives, something that they can immediately implement in terms of action into their lives, and then also just kind of having these kind of spontaneous talks, which people may find useful, and just kind of getting this information, these techniques, these ideas out there, so that if people want, they can make use of them. That's kind of the idea. So anyway, I set myself a timer, and so I have half an hour to give my first lecture, or my first offering of ideas. Lecture sounds kind of formal, so however you want to think of it. What I want to talk about today the first thing I want to explore and vocalize is something that has never been gotten less relevant in my life and in my practice, and that is the topic I'm choosing, which is just keep trying. Just keep trying. I definitely find myself personally to be very ambitious. I just always have a sense of wanting to get a lot done. So very ambitious, and then being a bit of a perfectionist. So wanting lots of things to be happening, wanting lots of things to be getting done, and wanting them all to be getting done right, very well. I don't want to be compromising on my vision for them. I want to do a lot, and I want everything that I want done to be happening to be resulting in things that are of the quality I had initially hoped them to be. So I don't want to do a bunch of things and have them all turn out poorly. I want to do a bunch of things and have them all turn out excellently. And the result and what I initially envisioned are non-different. That's the way my mind works. And obviously life doesn't always facilitate that. Things can kind of slip out of our fingers often, I find. You want it done at this time, and then you're tired, and it happens later. Right? Or, I wanted it done this way, and then the person or the organization you're working with, they have problems. Like I'm trying to fill out an application on a government website, and they're delayed, it's not working. It's like I want to fill out this application and get the thing going, and their system is all slowed down, they're having issues. It's like I'm dependent on their technology and their systems to function correctly in order for my plan to function correctly. But their end of things is having mishaps, and so I want this situation in my life to be progressing in a certain way, but it's relying on other factors, and those factors are not allowing for that. And the reason I'm saying this is because a lot of life is like that. A lot of life challenges my initial vision for how I want things to go. Like I want it to be this way, and then life happens and it doesn't happen that way. That's what I'm trying to say. That's the real point I'm trying to make. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because my mind often falls into that pattern of like, there's so much I want to get done. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I'm very enthusiastic about having all those aforementioned things. I want this, this, and this. I want them all to be done excellently. I want them to be done to result in things happening the best way, the very best way. And life just doesn't seem to let you get your way always. Often, maybe it doesn't even happen. That's been my own personal experience. And so, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I have a spiritual practice that I have very high hopes for. Yet, the factors of life often challenge that happening as consistently as I would want it to. Often oppose it from being as powerful as I would like it to be. Often offset how consistent and trying to think of the right word, thorough they're done. It's like if I meditate, if I'm planning to meditate, I want to have a good posture, right? But then that knee's hurting today, so you have to switch the posture. You have to do a different posture. Okay. I want to meditate for an hour, but my schedule that day, I have an appointment in 40 minutes. So, I really only have 20 minutes, and then I have to get in the car and go over there. So I want to meditate for an hour, but I really only have 20 minutes of time. And, you were at somebody's birthday party earlier, and it was very exciting, and you had a bunch of cake, and now you're all sugared out, and you had some coffee, and now your mind is, you were drinking coffee, eating sugar, socializing, and now you came home after that, and your mind isn't quite settling the way you want it to. So my point is, I find myself wanting to do a lot. I have very high hopes for everything I'm planning, and yet your body, your schedule, your calendar, social factors, life just has other plans. You have your plans, and life has other plans. And they don't always align such that your plans can always come out exactly as you had initially hoped. And so I often find that causing a considerable amount of grief in my life over time when you think about each time I set out to achieve a certain routine in my spiritual practice, or each time I wanted to try taking something I've been doing for a while and increasing the intensity or the duration. Okay, I've been meditating for 20 minutes. Let's try doing it for 40 minutes. That kind of increasing the duration or intensity of things. Okay, I'm lifting weights. I can do 2 pounds. Now let's make it more intense. Let's do 5 pounds, So I find myself often wanting to be very consistent about my spiritual practices, wanting them to be increasing over time, becoming more powerful, connecting with them on deeper levels, understanding just how powerful it is to meditate. It's not just, can I sit here and, get my mind to be quiet for an hour, but can I actually feel why this is powerful? What's the benefit of actually doing this? Can you connect with it on that level? Can you increase how long you meditate, or the other practices you're doing, how much you can connect with them, and how much you can increase the intensity level, whether that's doing them more intensely or doing them for longer periods of time, like meditating longer, for longer count of minutes. But life just doesn't seem to allow that to happen smoothly, maybe like ever. Like maybe not even once, which is fine. That's okay. But how do you deal with that? That's really what I want to get into. Right? You have all these high hopes. You have all these things you want to do. You want them all to be done well and on time and come out just as you had hoped they would come out. And have them be just how you had hoped they would be. And yet that's kind of rare, like an eclipse. It's just kind of one of those special events that happens sometimes, but not always. And so how do you deal with that? How do you deal with having a mind, which I think many of us in moderate or more severe degrees have that kind of mindset of like, I know what I want and I want to do it and I want it to come out how I want it. You know, we all more or less have a mind that works that way. How do you live with having a mind oriented that way, that approaches situations that way, and yet living in a body, living in a world, living a life that hardly ever seems to facilitate that fulfillment? You know, you say, I want to do this, this, and that, and I want this, this, and that to be done this way. I want it to come out with this intended result. How often does this, this, and that happen? And how often does this, this, and that happen exactly the way you had intended it to happen? Rarely. And so how do you navigate that? And so that's what I want to get into today. That's the topic. That's the topic I chose that I want to get into. It's just keep trying. You know, really over time, I think what I've really learned is the single kernel of success on the path in any lifestyle. You know, whether you're serious about spirituality and serious about practicing or not, whether you're a lay person or a monastic, I mean, anyone who's in a human body is going to have to encounter this in some way. It's how do you deal with having all these high hopes and plans and having them pretty routinely kind of dashed against the rocks? You know, how do you deal with that? And basically what I've worked out, where I'm at today, is just keep trying. You know, if you say, I want to meditate for an hour, you know, every day this week, I've been able to meditate for 45 minutes, no problem. No problem. And so you set a timer for an hour, you start meditating, and 45 minutes, you're feeling good, but then the last 15 minutes, something happens, and you know, your leg starts hurting way more than it usually does, and your mind starts getting way more fatigued than it usually does, and it's too intense, and you don't quite get to that hour. I think one I find particularly challenging is I want to have a very pure diet that supports good general health, robust health, but also a pure diet that gives you good energy for these practices. You know, a diet where if you're meditating, if you're doing yoga, postures, you know, asanas, you feel healthy, you feel energized, you don't feel, you know, like you just ate a whole cheesecake and then you go do a bunch of yoga and meditation, you're going to feel like, ugh, you know, I don't want to do this. Whereas if you eat it, you know, a salad and, you know, maybe some rice and beans or something like that, some khichdi, you're going to feel good after you eat that stuff. And so in my mind, I'm very inclined to, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm already totally on board with eating that way. I want to. I understand the benefits. I'm about it. And yet when it comes time to actually do that, for whatever reason, it doesn't happen every day. Every single day it doesn't happen like that. You know, I want to have 2 meals a day. It's good for your digestion. Helps you not eat so much. Helps keep your digestion functioning properly and your body healthy. You know, there's a lot of benefits to it. And yet, you know, I don't have 2 meals every day. You know, I might snack here and there. And I also want to have healthy meals. You know, I want to cook fresh food for myself, organic ingredients, vegetables, and grains, you know, freshly cooked and healthy, you know, like kale and collard greens and, you know, lentils and beans and tofu and other vegetables. Yet my meal does not always look like that. Sometimes there's like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or some potato chips, or pastries like a croissant or something. It's pizza or ice cream. It's like I don't always eat like that. And you can kind of get like, I can often find myself kind of falling into this pattern of like, oh boy, I didn't succeed, I didn't do good enough. And you can kind of fall into this cycle of being hard on yourself because you have all these things you want to achieve, you want them done this way, and yet you're not able to execute that. You're not able to consistently fulfill that. And that inability to consistently fulfill those goals creates a consistent sense of unfulfillment, of kind of disappointment. And for me personally, I can find myself being very hard on myself. I'm like, bonk, 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 bonk. Why didn't you? Why didn't you get it right? You said you wanted to. Why didn't you? And it's like, well, because I'm tired, because I'm hungry, because that thing's tasty, because I'm human, because life is crazy. And yet, you have all these things you want to get done, and they very rarely get done the way you want to get done, because life has all these, just throws all these things that get in your way and kind of clog up your momentum of getting it done and getting it done the way you wanted it to get done. And so kind of what I've learned from setting all these goals and over and over and over and over and over and over again, having them just not quite gel and not quite come together the way I wanted them to, is really focusing on what's really important here. What's the real essence of what I'm trying to do here? I'm trying to do all these things. I'm trying to do them well. Why? What's the real core of that function, of that desire to do these things? And for me, the answer is just keep trying. That's what it's all about. It's not about whether you set these goals and achieve them. It's not about whether you set these goals and achieve them and you did it the way you want and they came out the way you hoped they would. Even if you keep wanting to set routines and set goals and set standards and things don't work out, you just keep trying. That's really the point I found, is you can get really disheartened. You're like, I wasn't able to do that 2 days in a row. I wasn't able to do that as well as I had hoped. And yet, you just keep trying. Because that's really what it's all about. It's about not giving up, about not throwing in the towel. At a certain point, my practice has become less about the specifics and more about trying. The more time goes on, the less I worry about what I'm trying to do and how I think it's supposed to come out. And don't get me wrong, I'm still totally entangled in that all the time. And yet, I recognize time and time again when you set these goals and they don't work out and you have all this grief and heartbreak, you're like, oh, I'm so dumb, I can't believe this didn't work out. Time and time again, what I come back to is just keep trying. It doesn't matter that it didn't work out this time. It doesn't matter that you did it, but it didn't quite happen how you hoped it would. What matters is that you kept trying. And what really matters most is you will continue to keep trying. So I guess really what I'm trying to say here is these days, I've seen so many things just turn into a headache that I had high hopes for. And you go, okay, this is going to be great. It's going to be great this time. And then it just turns into a headache again. It just keeps on doing that every time I set a goal for myself, or I have high hopes for a new plan. I'm starting this YouTube channel. I'm like, I know how it's going to be. It may take a very different direction. And that's fine. This doesn't have to be, this YouTube channel, for instance, doesn't have to be what I'd hoped it would be. It can take its own course, and that's fine. The main point is I keep trying. And for anyone else, you keep trying. I want to wake up early and meditate and do yoga. I want to keep a clean diet. I want to see the things in my life taking shape. I want this YouTube channel to stay active and have content that's helpful to people. That's how I want things to be. Will that happen? Maybe. Maybe not. And that's fine. Either way, it's fine. If it all happens that way, if it all happens exactly how I wanted it to, exactly how I was planning, it all turns out great, that's fine. If some of it does turn out that way, that's fine. If most of it doesn't turn out that way, that's fine. All of these outcomes are fine. It doesn't mean I'm not caring, I'm not trying. I want all of them to succeed, and I will do my very best to help them in that direction, to help them succeed. And yet, whatever happens is fine. Why? Because you just keep trying. That's the goal. The goal is not, I want my plans to turn out well, and if they turn out well, I'll be happy, and if they don't turn out well, I'll be unhappy. The goal is not dependent on how things turn out. The goal is dependent on, did you give up? Did you take that so personally, and was that such a kick to your system and sense of self-esteem that you just want to throw in the towel and stop doing things this way and stop trying? That's just feedback. It's just what happened. And it's not necessarily personal or a reflection of your effort or competency or what's possible. It's just life is crazy, and sometimes things happen that way, and that's okay. And so you just look at life, you say, I want to do this, and whatever happens, this is what I want to do. But you recognize anything can happen, because that's how life works sometimes. The main point is you just keep trying. You don't gauge success in your attempts in life and your plans in life based on how they turn out. You base success, the criteria for success is totally different. For me these days, it's totally different. I look at success, how I gauge success for myself personally, the perspective I'm holding these days when I try to do things is not, it's successful if it happens when I want, how I want, and it's unsuccessful if it doesn't happen when I want, how I want. How I define success is you keep trying for all the various things you want to keep trying towards, and yet, if they work out, I'll continue trying. If they don't work out, I'll try again. I'll try something new. How I gauge success is my inner drive, my inner resiliency, my inner almost like hunger, thirst. I don't know how to describe it. This momentum to just keep trying no matter what. No matter what. I look at everything I'm going towards. I have all these plans, and if they happen, that'd be amazing. And if they don't, that's fine. But really, how I gauge success is not based on any of that. If they work out or not. It's not based on that at all. It's based on, no matter what happened, when you see some things succeeding and some things failing, are you able to keep trying anyways? If some things work out and other things don't, and you go, well, that worked out and this didn't, how come? Oh, this is so frustrating. I have some things working out, but then others aren't. That's so frustrating. That's okay. That's just how it is. That's just how it's always going to be a mixed bag, and that's fine. So I don't look at the results to tell me whether it's successful or not. How I gauge success is like your ability to just keep trying. It's no matter what people say, no matter how it turns out, no matter whether most of the things I do fail or most of the things I do succeed, or this one fails but then that one succeeded and then this one failed and that one succeeded. It's fine. You just keep trying. Really, the main beauty of the process, I guess you could say, is to find it within, to really locate the piece of yourself that doesn't want to quit, the piece of yourself that can have things blow up or go wonderfully, and either way, it just says, what's next? Let's go forward. That's really, it's not about the results. It's about the piece of you that, whether things work out or not, is excited for what's next, stays inspired, has this lust for life, that wants to keep going forward and creating new things. It's like whether things blow up in your face or whether they come out perfectly and you get all the praise, doesn't matter. There's something ferociously curious in me that wants to know what's next. Okay, what else can we do? How can we keep going here? So that's the point of Just Keep Trying for me, I think, is really finding the part of the deepest part of your being, the aspect of that just is not interested in quitting. It's not interested in giving up based on how things worked out. No matter what happens, it has a lust for life and it wants to keep going forward. So anyway, I gave myself 30 minutes. Timer went off, so we'll leave it there for today. It's my first video. Amazing. Hopefully more to come. And I wish you all the best of luck in your own lives. And may this, what I chose to share today, may that be helpful to you. That is my wish. May this help all sentient beings so that I may know the essence of my own heart in all. Compassion. Okay, bye-bye.